Fans over the past few weeks now, many longtime dedicated followers of that alternative, original Atlanta-based promotion are sure, even weeks later now, to be incredibly emotional over the retirement of Steve "Sting" Borden up in Florida. Many of us initially were incredibly hot over the idea, of the Young Bucks being involved with Sting's retirement storyline, leading up to the major match itself, leading up to that major celebration of Borden's career. I believe the reason for the match was because if you go back to that Orlando-based entertainment promotion, you'll know that the Buck brothers were a part of the roster. And at that time, they were working in the backstage, the brothers. And at this time, they were known as Generation Me. And I'm sure that was the first instance where they were introduced to Steve "Sting" Borden. Both the Bucks and Steve "Sting" Borden are devoted followers to that strong faith-based background and belief. So essentially, I could, imagine a situation where these young dudes now come into the company and get a chance to meet and work alongside such an undeniable industry influential name like Steve. It must have been an incredible moment for the Bucks at that time in their careers. And, unlike a lot of fans, I personally think Steve's Orlando work was so much more than just a second run for Borden at that time. Yes, he had truly reached incredible, undeniable heights during his time in Atlanta, but I do believe his run in Orlando was almost as emotional as that first run in the industry, when Steve was hitting peaks with his groundbreaking, for that time, Crow character. Coming to this modern era now, we see that in Florida, the Buck brothers have a major influence, in that up-and-coming Florida-based promotion. And I mean, things between the men have to be incredibly emotional. I mean, these are those same young dudes now that about a decade later are having major success in places like Japan and various independents. And here they are, having a major role in one of the alternative modern promotions. And here is Borden, at the end stage of his career, kind of coming in once again, staying true and representing an alternative promotion. And, directly working under the Young Bucks. So it is clear to me, why this match took place and why Sting's retirement match was with the brothers. I wanted to take a look at how Florida handled the retirement and give my thoughts, on if Steve the "Sting" Borden's career was celebrated the way that it should have been. I would like to, one more time before we have this discussion about the match, say, thank you, Steve. Thank you, Sting, for the career and for the legendary moments and memories that will last a lifetime. Pro wrestling reality fans, it's showtime for the last time. Leading up to that incredible celebration that they did up in Florida at Revolution, Borden's run, I really believe, was one of his most powerful yet. potentially one of his most emotional runs in this industry. At first, we didn't know what we were going to get. We thought maybe we'd only be seeing the cinematic matches. They're pairing him with this young Darby Allin dude now. I think a lot of fans, had reservations on where this run was going to go. Week to week, Steve was having incredible matches. And I believe really pushing himself, pushing his moveset, pushing the character, into a direction it's never been before. And the fans were reacting to Steve just as much as they had in that peak Atlanta era. He was taking more risks. We seen, Borden for the first time in his career, as far as I know, leaping from the top of a ladder, going up to the stage and leaping down, jumping through tables. And I feel that Borden making this change and adapting this dive to his character, really, really suited, what the character stands for. It really was like seeing that comic book hero, the Crow, sort of, leaping from the rooftops, onto the bad guy. That is really what I felt Borden captured when he started doing more high-risk maneuvers. Leading up to Steve's final performance, I was wildly speculating. I was emotional. I was incredibly hot, thinking who was going to be Borden's final opponent. How was Sting going to end his career on that Florida stage? The leading up to the celebration brought in Nature Boy Ric Flair. Those two for decades, have been rivals. They've done storylines. They've had incredible matches. They were the ones who put WCW off the air on that final Monday Night Nitro. I would have loved to see Borden and Flair, work together once again on that stage. And a lot of fans weren't wanting it. But I absolutely was. I mean, even if you just gave them the big entrance, Flair does a couple chops, and Sting sort of gets him in the death lock, and then you get that major celebration, I would have been happy with that. But, it just became clear to me that we weren't going to get a Legends match. And when the news broke that the Buck Brothers, were going to be the opponent, I was incredibly upset. I said to myself, there's so much history. There's so many superstars in Florida right now that have history with Steve that, why are you just going to throw these young dudes out there with him to end his career? I didn't think it was right. And, I spoke openly about it with other industry minds. And, eventually, I was like, let's just give it a chance. Let's give it a chance. But, I mean, you have Jeff Jarrett. You have Christian Cage. Guys that I think could have really, made us celebrate the history of Steve's career, so much more than the Buck Brothers could. But, leading up to the match, I was willing to give it a chance because I have enormous respect for Steve's career. To the match itself, it started off incredibly emotionally. We see the sons now, Steve's sons, coming out alongside him in incarnations, past incarnations of his career, of that Sting character. Darby Allin alongside him. And I thought it was really chilling. I was very emotional. We see, the Young Bucks make their entrance, and, the match I thought was really incredible. It went beyond my expectations. I was very happy to be proven wrong. When I thought this thing was going to be an absolute disaster, I mean, who wanted to see the Buck brothers, beating Sting to close out Steve's career? And that's really what I thought we were going to get, but no. We got an incredible match. Steve had his moment, where he really hit the peak of his career. Fans were hot, and I think by the end of it, that his career really got the great send-off that he deserves. And, we even seen that the daughter now was backstage cheering on her father. I really want to say thank you one more time for such an incredible career, such an incredible run in AEW. I think all fans, going back to those Atlanta years, are incredibly thankful for this run. We're very pleasantly surprised, and I would absolutely say yes, that AEW did an incredible job in really giving Steve's retirement the respect it truly deserved.